Beginning roof framing can feel like learning a whole new language, but with a little practice, you can quickly learn all the terminology you need to get started with framing a gable or hip roof. This video will look at the terminology used in framing a gable roof with common rafters, and then take a quick look at some of the terms used in framing hips and valleys. Let's get started. First, a rafter is one of the sloping structural members of a roof frame. Common rafters run at a right angle from the wall plate to the ridge in matching pairs. And, just as the name says, they are the most common. The distance spanned by a pair of common rafters is called the span, and is measured to the building line, which is the plane of the outside of the wall framing, not including the sheathing. Half of the span is called the run of the rafter, and the run makes the bottom of what is known as the roof triangle. The center line of the building makes the vertical leg of the roof triangle, and its length is called the rise of the roof. The hypotenuse of the roof triangle is called the measuring line in roof framing, and its length is called the line length of the rafter. The roof triangle is the basis for calculating rafter lengths and angles, but it's important to note that the measuring line doesn't line up with either the top or the bottom edge of the rafter, and that the total rise of the roof triangle is not the same as the height of the roof framing. Cuts on common rafters generally consist only of plumb cuts, which are vertical, and level cuts, which are horizontal. The rafter is fitted to the top plate with a notch called the bird's mouth, which is made with a plumb cut and a level cut. The level cut of a bird's mouth is called the seat cut, and the part of the rafter directly above the seat cut is called the heel. The tail of the rafter extends past the bird's mouth, making the overhang of the roof. The tail generally has a plumb cut and sometimes a level cut. The plumb and level cuts of the tail provide a surface for attaching a vertical fascia board and a horizontal soffit to enclose the underside of the roof overhang. The plumb cut at the top of the rafter fits against the ridge board, and it needs to be adjusted by half of the thickness of the ridge board back from the center line. If sheathing is installed on the walls before the rafters, then the plumb cut of the bird's mouth also needs to be adjusted by the thickness of the sheathing back away from the building line. The height of the rafter that remains after the bird's mouth is cut is called by many names, including the height above plate, and it is measured along the building line. Adding that height above plate to the total rise of the roof triangle will give you the finished height of the roof framing. The horizontal distance that a rafter tail extends past the building line is called the projection, and its length along the slope of the rafter is called the overhang. The plans will show whether a fascia is included in this measurement, and if so, you'll need to deduct the thickness of the fascia from the length of the tail. Here's some of the basic terms to know for framing hips and valleys. Hip rafters go diagonally from the plate to the ridge. To find their slope, use the same rise and multiply the run by the square root of 2. Hip jack rafters go from the plate to the hip. Their run is equal to the distance from the corner of the building. Valley rafters go diagonally, where two slopes meet. And valley jack rafters go from a valley rafter to a ridge. Finally, cripple jack rafters don't meet the plate or the ridge. They just go between the hip and the valley rafters. That's enough to get you started. You'll encounter more terminology on every job you do. Thanks for watching and have fun on your roof framing journey.